today we will discuss the topic of citizenship. Part 2 of the Constitution deals with citizenship and Article 5 to 11 deals with the citizenship. The Constitution deals with the citizenship on the day of the commencement of the Constitution. That is, who will be the citizens of India till the on the day on which Constitution came into force. So therefore, till 26 Jan 1950, who will be the citizens of India? This is described in the Constitution itself. 4 articles deals with it. Article 5, 6, 7, 8. This is Pakistan, this is India. First, those who are born in India. So therefore, this is the first thing. So Article 5 deals who are born in India. Article 6 deals who migrated from Pakistan to India. Migrated from Pakistan to India. Article 7 deals who migrated to Pakistan and then came again back to India. So just trick to remember is the movement is clockwise. Those who are born in India itself, as we are dealing with the citizens of India, then who migrated from Pakistan to India, then next article who migrated to Pakistan and later returned back to India, and last foreign world who wants to acquire the citizenship of India. Born in India, migrated from Pakistan to India, migrated to Pakistan and later returned to India. And last, those who want to acquire citizenship of India, overseas Indians. Overseas. Trick to remember is this. Now, what is Article 5? Article 5 says the person who has been domiciled in India, those who are born or either of its parents born, or he has been living in India for the 5 years since the formation of Constitution. So, who will be the citizens according to the Article 5? That who are born in India or either of their parents are born in India, mother or father, or they are living in India for the 5 years preceding the commencement of the Constitution. Those will be the citizens of India. This is described in Article 5. Article 6 says those who migrated from Pakistan to India. So there should be 3 conditions. Any one of the 3 conditions. Either he should be born in India, undivided India, or either of its parents are born in India, or any of its grandparents born in India. With respect to Article 6, you need to remember one trick. Write 1947/48. 1948. Then divide this. 1947 is not, there is no month called 47. So let's make 0. 07 1948. So there are two conditions with respect to Article 6. That is, those who migrated from Pakistan to India before this date, before 19 July 1948. So whoever migrated from Pakistan to India before this date, they should be ordinary resident since that date till the constitution. While those who migrated on this date or after this date should register for the citizenship, and they should live before registration 6 months. This is first condition. This is second. On or after 19 July 1948, they should register, plus they should have lived continuously for 6 months before registration. Remember this trick for easy memorization. Next trick, as you have remembered this trick, swap the date. What should be the month and what should be the date? This is the zero discrimination day. That is 1 March. For Article 7, you have to remember this. Swap the year from the Article 6 and then add zero discrimination day, because our constitution does not discriminate. So therefore, the persons who migrated to Pakistan after this date and then later returned to India, they can become citizens of India. Condition is this: they have to live continuously for 6 months before the registration. They have to get registered. Therefore, register for the citizenship plus live 6 months immediately before the registration. So this is Article 7. Now the citizenship of the overseas Indians. Article 8 says that the person whose and either of the parents or grandparents were Indians and then they want to acquire the citizenship of India, so they should register at the consular or diplomatic representative of India in that country. So it is by registration. They should register. So this Article 5, 6, 7, 8 deals with the citizenship till 26 Jan 1950, and the constitution authorizes the parliament to enact a law for the subsequent registration, that is citizenship dealing after 26 Jan 1950, parliament can enact law to regulate that citizenship. Now Article 9, 10 and 11. For this you have to remember one line. Voluntarily Parliament makes law to become powerful. Voluntarily. Any citizen who is voluntarily giving up its citizenship is not, he renounces its citizenship, is not a citizen of India. So voluntarily, it deals with the persons who are voluntarily giving up their citizenship. Parliament makes law, that is law and parliament. Any citizen is citizen subject to the provisions of the parliament, that is subject to the provisions of the law made by parliament. So any citizen continues to be citizen, is citizen subject to law of parliament. Become powerful, something related to power. So parliament has the power for the acquisition and termination of the citizenship. With respect to termination and acquisition of citizenship, you have to remember these articles for the prelims point of view. Next, as I have told you, Constitution has given the authority, the power to the Parliament to deal with the citizenship post 26 Jan 1950. So for that, Parliament has enacted Citizenship Amendment Act 1986, then amended in 1992, then 2003, then 2005. So we are studying now Citizenship Amendment Act 2005. For this, there is a trick. You have to remember one line. By birth, a decent citizen should get registration naturally in Indian territory. So, citizenship by birth, citizenship by descent, citizenship by registration, citizenship by naturalization, and citizenship by incorporation in the Indian territory. You have to deal with 5 things. First, citizenship by birth. To remember by birth what are the provisions and what are the dates, you have to remember some trick. Remember this year, 1987. 7 here, 1 here. 1 July. 1 July 1987, before. That's why this symbol. Before, not on or after, before. And for also by descent, you have to remember one date. 3rd December 2004. You have to remember this, 3rd December 2004 and 1987. So what will be the date from the start of the constitution to 1987? That is 1 July 1987. Then on and after 1 July 1987, before 3rd December 2004, and then on and after 3rd December 2004. First of all, remember this. So those who are born after commencement of the constitution, that is 26 Jan 1950 and before 1 July 1987, they are citizens by birth. And those who are born on 1 July 1987 and before 3rd December 2004, memorize this date, they are citizens. What is the condition? That either of their parents are citizens. That is, either mother or father is a citizen. And those who are born on this date and after this date, they are citizens. And what is the condition? That both of their parents should be citizens. Or if this is not the case, then one parent should be a citizen and other should not be illegal migrant. One citizen, other not illegal migrant. So this is citizenship by birth according to the Constitution Amendment Act 2005. You have to remember this. Second is by descent. To learn the dates, you have to remember some tricks. I told you, you have to remember this. "12 year minus 1 week" comes this date. 12 years minus 1 week. Minus 1 week, same month, 12 years. "12 years minus 1 week." Same date here, 10 December 1992. And then so those who are born after 26 Jan 1950 and before 10 December 1992, and those who are born on and after 10 December 1992 and before 3rd December 2004, and those who are born on 3rd December and 2 and after 3rd December 2004, 2000 not 2, 4. Learn this. By descent means the person is born in foreign land. The person born in foreign. So therefore, the person who is born after 26 Jan 1950 but before this date is a citizen. Condition is father should be citizen. The person born on 10 December 1992 but before 3rd December 2004 will be a citizen only if either of its parents is citizen. and the person born on 3rd December 2004 and after that is not a citizen unless he is registered. So this was all about by descent. Third is by registration. By registration, for this you have to remember one short story, that two persons came from outside India. One lived in India and one was from outside India. Then they married an Indian citizen, then they have children, and then the children have become of full age and capacity. So therefore, first point, person of Indian origin who has been ordinary resident in India for 7 years. Ordinary resident for 7 years. So he is not citizen outside. Second, person of Indian origin who is from outside India. Third, person who has married Indian citizen. And is living in India for 7 years. Fourth, minor children of the persons who are Indian citizens. So, outside person, one is living in India for 7 years and second, he is not living in India. Then they marry the person who is Indian citizen and then they have children. Trick to remember for just raw knowledge. So, in technical terms, person of Indian origin, ordinary resident for 7 years, then person of Indian origin not resident in India, person who has married Indian citizen for 7 and living in India for 7 years, then minor children of Indian citizens. Person of full age and capacity. Person of full age and capacity whose parents are registered citizen. Person of full age and capacity whose either of the parents were Indian citizens and they are living for 1 year before making an application for registration. And last, person of full age and capacity who has been overseas citizens of India for 5 years and now they are living in India continuously for 1 year before making an application for registration. And living in India for 1 year. So these categories of person can register to become Indian citizens. And what is the meaning of ordinary resident? in India? This is they are living in India cumulatively for 6 years. That is, if I want to, if I am an ordinary citizen of India, then I have to live for 6 years in India in the time period of 8 years. For the past 8 years, I have been living in India cumulatively for 6 years, and then I am living continuously for 1 year before making an application for registration. This is meant by ordinary resident in India. Now the next thing is by naturalization. He has to fulfill these conditions to become Indian citizen by naturalization. First, he should not be from that country where Indian citizens are debarred from becoming citizens. Not from country where Indian citizens are debarred from becoming citizens. And he undertakes that he will renounce the citizenship of that country. He resided in India or has been in service of India, service of government of India for continuously 12 months before making an application through naturalization, and he resided in India or has been in service in government for cumulatively 11 years in total, in aggregate, out of 14 years. Let's say if I want to apply citizenship through naturalization, that for the past 14 years cumulatively I have resided in India or I have been in service of the government of India for 11 years, and after that I have been continuously living in India for the 12 months. Then I can make an application by naturalization. All these conditions should be fulfilled. He should be of good character. He should have knowledge of any language in 8th schedule. And after he has been granted the certificate of naturalization, he intends to live in India. To live in India or to serve government of India. Only if he fulfills all these conditions, then he will be granted certificate of naturalization, and the government can waive any condition or all of the condition in case if the person is contributing in art, philosophy, science, literature, world peace, human progress. Then the government can waive any condition and he can become a citizen of India by naturalization. See, to grasp basic concept, we have discussed citizenship by birth. That is, it deals with the persons who are born in India. Citizenship by descent, that a person is of descent of India, either its parents or grandparents were at some point of time were Indian citizens. Third, basic difference from registration and naturalization is it is granted to a foreigner, and in case of registration it is granted to the persons who has earlier been the citizen of India, but for some reason they have left the citizenship of India and now again they want to become citizen of India, and this is the basic concept. Let's learn a mnemonic, one sentence. Prashant left for renunciation to terminate his life through deprivation of food. So therefore there are three ways through which citizenship can be annulled. By renunciation, it means that I am voluntarily surrendering my citizenship in writing. By termination, if I acquire the citizenship of some other country, then my citizenship will automatically get terminated. Third, by deprivation. Parliament can deprive me of my citizenship by any law. Parliament has the power. So these are the three ways in which citizenship can be annulled in Citizenship Amendment Act 2005. Let us have a brief look at between the differences person of Indian origin and OCI cards. Person of Indian origin card and overseas citizens of India card. Now they have been merged, but what were the basic differences and what was the need? It was introduced in 2002. It was introduced in 2005 to give some benefits to the person who have the connection with India through their previous generations, that is through lineage. So these things were opened like PO card and OCI card so that they can avail benefits and they have a sense of belongingness to India. So therefore PIO card was introduced in 2002. Its validity was 15 years, but in 2014 it was made lifelong. Its validity was lifelong. They required visa, they didn't require visa. They can enter multiple times, can work anywhere. Persons of the countries which cannot be granted the PIO card were Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Afghanistan, Iran and China. Persons of these countries were not given PIO card, but here only Bangladesh and Pakistan. Persons living in Bangladesh and Pakistan are not given OCI card. Rest countries except Bangladesh and Pakistan are given the OCI card. They can stay, these PIO card holders can stay only for 180 days, and if they want to live more than 180 days, they have to report to the authorities, to FFRO. No such requirement. These PIO card holders enjoyed the same benefits as NRI in economic and financial matters. Also, these OCI card enjoy the same benefits in economic and financial matters. And this PIO card was given to the person who had the Indian passport at any time. But later their citizenship changed. Or the people who are the children, grandchildren or great grandchildren of the persons who were Indian citizens at some time. So as you can easily compare that OCI card holders have more benefits, that's no visa required, only 2 countries people are divided, it is validity is lifelong and they do not have to report. So therefore OCI card was an upgrade over PIO card. Now these OCI, PIO card and OCI card have been merged, which is called Overseas Citizen of India Card Holder Scheme, which we will discuss. So now we discuss the basic difference between the NRI, PIO and OCI card holders. NRI are the Indian citizens who have the Indian passport but they live ordinarily in other country. So these are actually Indian citizens having Indian passport. PIO is persons of Indian origin. As the name suggests, these are the persons of Indian origin, that is their parents, grandparents and great grandparents were Indians. So they have the ancestral lineage, but these persons now have the passport of some other country. So actually they are foreigners, but they have the Indian lineage. So these persons are called persons of Indian origin. And OCI card holders, they have to register for the OCI card holder scheme. So they will get an OCI card. Now, who are the persons who can get OCI card? First, the persons who were Indian citizens at the commencement of the constitution. So, but now they have left. So these persons are eligible for OCI card holders. Second, the persons who were eligible to get to become Indian citizens at the commencement of constitution. These category of persons can also apply for OCI card holder. Third, persons in territory which India acquired after its independence. When after independence, the territories which India acquired, the persons of that region can also apply for OCI card holders. Second, children, grandchildren or great grandchildren of these kind of persons, they can also apply for OCI card holder. Next, minor children of these categories of person, they can also apply for OCI card holder. Then minor children of either of the parents, either of the parents is of these category, then they can also apply for OCI card. Next, spouse whose marriage in existence for 2 years with an OCI card holder. Person is an OCI card holder and foreign spouse whose marriage has been continuous for 2 years, then they can also apply for OCI card holder. They do not require any visa as they are Indian citizens and having Indian passport. They require visa. PIO. OCI card holders have the lifetime multiple entry, multiple exit benefit. So they do not require visa. These persons, they are Indian citizens. These PIO can become Indian citizens after staying 7 years in India. These OCI card holders person can become Indian citizens after staying 5 years in India, and prior to the application they have been living in India for continuously 12 months. And the PIO persons have to report if they require to stay in India for more than 180 days. These OCI card holders person do not have to require to register under FFRO. So these are the basic differences regarding NRI, PIO and OCI card holders. On parity, this OCI card holder scheme was launched to give parity between the NRI and OCI, that is benefits which NRI avail should also be given to OCI, but still there are some rights which are restricted, which have not been given to these OCI card holders. They do not have the equality of opportunity in public employment. They cannot become president or vice president. They cannot become judge of the Supreme Court or judge of the High Court. They cannot be registered as voter. They cannot be given public services, offices. So these are the rights which have been not given to OCI card holders. There are two categories of people, citizens and aliens. Citizens which are Indian citizens and aliens. Which are not Indian citizens. Aliens are of two types, friendly aliens and enemy aliens. Friendly aliens are the people who are the citizens of that country which has friendly relations with India. And enemy aliens are the citizens of that country which do not have cordial relations with India. And there are certain rights which are available only to citizens and not to aliens. Article 15, Article 16, 19, 29, both have 9 in 10s and 20s, and Article 15 and 16. Prohibition of discrimination on the basis of race, religion, caste, sex and so on. Article 16, equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. Article 29, education and cultural rights. These rights are only available to citizens and not available to aliens. And also enemy aliens has less rights than that of friendly aliens. Example, Article 22. Article 22, protection against arrest and detention. This is available to friendly alien but not available to any enemy alien. They can be arrested and can go into detention.